Just days after bidding farewell to US President Donald Trump, Chinese President Xi Jinping is gearing up to host another high-profile guest, Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Уверен, что вместе мы будем и далее делать все возможное для углубления российско-китайского партнерства и добрососедства. Ради динамичного развития двух наших стран и благополучия наших народов. В интересах поддержания глобальной безопасности и стабильности.
Putin's visit, slated for May 19th through the 20th, comes on the heels of Xi and Trump's closely watched summit. It marks the first time that China has hosted the leaders of the two powers separately in the same month. The proximity of their visits reflects Beijing's efforts to manage ties with both countries.
What to watch, I think it's important to see what Xi tells Putin during their meeting. In the past, I think there have been instances where Xi has communicated with Putin right after a call with Trump or right before a call with Trump. So this might sort of indicate a kind of update that Xi has for Putin right after Trump's visit.
The quick succession of Putin and Trump's visits also reflects Beijing's effort to position itself as a pivotal power amid an increasingly splintered world order.
继续推动中俄关系向更深层次、更高水平发展，为世界注入更多稳定性和正能量。
Beijing's hosting of both leaders in a span of just a week says a lot about China's positioning and framing of itself as a kind of indispensable power in a growingly fractured world order.
Putin's two-day visit will also make China the first country to host all four leaders of the other permanent members of the UN Security Council within months of each other. France's Emmanuel Macron visited Beijing in December. That was shortly followed by British Prime Minister Keir Starmer in January. On May 15th, Trump wrapped up his visit to China, the first by a US leader in nearly a decade. While Trump's visit was heavy on ceremony, analysts say the visit was light on substance and failed to produce significant concrete achievements. In contrast, sources told SCMP that Putin's trip was part of Moscow's routine dealings with Beijing. The two leaders have met more than 40 times over the years, with Putin visiting China around 25 times. In contrast with Trump's visit, Putin's is expected to be lighter on ceremony and heavier on substance.
I expect there to be a lot more deliverables. So I'll be watching on any joint statement or any signals on the sort of topics that Beijing is communicating with Moscow. Russia previously suggested that it could compensate for China's oil shortages. And I think that could be economically significant with what's happening in the Middle East. One expert wrote that Taiwan could be the subtext of this Xi-Putin meeting, just because Beijing is looking to ensure its supplies of energy in the event of a future conflict, say in the Taiwan Strait.